Shabbat Shalom, Temple Bethel. I'm Rabbi Cassi Kail, and this is a taste of Torah to get us in the Shabbat mood for a Torah portion named Vayeshev, which means "and he settled." It contains a lot of stories that are unsettling. There is an interaction in which Joseph tells his brothers and his father about how he will one day rule over them. There is the moment when Joseph's brothers throw him into a pit and contemplate killing him, and another when some of his brothers sell him into slavery. And when Joseph refuses the advances of his master's wife in Egypt, only to end up in jail as a result. In the midst of these stories, there is another that is similarly challenging, though there is one difference. It involves a heroine who dares to see new life and new possibilities where others only saw death. At a young age, Tamar married Judah's firstborn son, Er. Early in their marriage, before Tamar bore a child, Er died. As was custom at the time, Tamar married Er's younger brother, Onan, and Onan, fearing that Tamar was cursed, distanced himself from her. As a result of his sin, he died as well. Judah had one final son named Shelah, who was too young to marry her, but was betrothed to Tamar as soon as he came of age. But even after he became a man, Judah refused to allow them to marry. He was mourning the death of his two sons, just as Tamar was mourning the death of her two husbands. Judah was afraid that marrying Tamar was a death sentence. So he sent Tamar to her home to live with her father, where she lived as a widow with no child, no future, and no promise. Tamar waited and waited, but soon she realized that nothing would change until she took matters into her own hands. She believed that there could be more, that she was meant to bring new life and possibility into this world. So she used the only power that she had, her sexuality. She took off her widow's garments when she learned that her father-in-law would be walking her way, and she stood at the side of the road at Petach Enayim, a place whose name literally means opened eyes. When Judah approached, she placed a veil before her eyes, and Judah mistook her for a prostitute. He gave her his staff and cord and signet seal, and she seized the opportunity and would become pregnant. Well, 3 months later, Tamar's pregnancy became apparent to everyone, and Judah was enraged. He sentenced her to death. It was at this moment where she took out the staff and the cord and the signet seal and explained that she had been impregnated by the man to whom these things belonged. When Judah saw them, he had a moment of clarity. To his credit, he immediately took responsibility for placing Tamar in the situation of helplessness that she had been in, and he declared her to be a righteous woman. One of the twin boys in her womb would grow to become a patriarch of the Jewish people in a line that would lead to King David, and eventually, according to our tradition, will lead to the Messiah. There is, of course, so much to be discussed about the way that power and powerlessness, about sexuality and vulnerability and grief and trial all show up in this story. Tamar should never have found herself in such a state of desperation that led to drastic measures. We could debate about whether her actions were righteous, but I prefer to see in them incredible resilience and hope. Tamar, who had so little say in her own life, who was grieving for her two husbands and the future she had lost, also dared to see the life and promise and prosperity in her future. She refused to give in or to give up. Instead, she had hope that led to new life. Tamar, imperfect as she was, has so much to teach us. That when times are tough, there is hope and possibility before us. That's the story of Hanukkah, after all, isn't it? How when all hope felt lost, a small band of Jews refused to give up, fought for our survival, and miraculously achieved it. Well, this Shabbat, Tamar calls us. The story of Hanukkah calls us to find light even in life's darkest places. wherever possible, to provide light and support to those around us who need it. Let us find hope in our world and in one another. I hope you all have a Shabbat Shalom. I look forward to seeing you at services this evening and on Sunday as we welcome in the holiday of Hanukkah with all of our festivities that will be involved in that. Shabbat Shalom.